Hi guys, welcome to Chapter 1. Throughout this course, we'll be discussing the interaction between what we eat and our level of health and wellness. This presentation is an intro to the basic concepts within the science of nutrition, some basic terminology, and a brief discussion about some of the problems we face nutritionally, as well as some of the efforts currently in place to help reduce or even eliminate the nutritional problems many face. So let's begin. It's all about our choices. What we put into our bodies helps determine how we feel, how healthy we are, and how well our bodies can function. As adults, we choose what we eat every day. What are those factors that influence your choices? Is it the taste of the food, or is it the convenience and cost? How much are your current choices affecting your quality of life now, and what impact will those choices have in the future? The food choices we make determine how many and what nutrients our bodies have available, and it is the nutrients that are essential to health. So, what influences how we make our food choices? There are many factors, some that are obvious and some not so obvious. The influence of flavor, texture, and appearance have on our choice of foods is one of the obvious ones. We generally don't choose foods we don't want to eat. How did our parents teach us to eat? That is something that maybe we don't think about as much. Studies have found that those children who are given healthy snacks will crave the same healthy snacks as adults. Even our routines and habits influence our nutrition. Are you a breakfast eater or a breakfast skipper? Advertising. The food always looks better on TV. How much time we have for eating may define our choices. 30 minutes to sit and eat lunch versus 2 minutes to grab something from the machine and swallow it whole before your next class. Finally, what I feel is the biggest influence for everyone, economics. Healthy food is not cheap. Actually, the healthier foods are much more expensive than their less healthy counterparts. Before we get much further, let's go over some basic definitions. Nutrition, the food people eat and how it's used in the body. Nutrition science, the scientific knowledge of food requirements for health, maintenance, growth, and activity. Dietetics, the application of nutrition science to promote health and treat disease. Nutrition literacy, making the food choices that are right for you. Health, more than just the absence of disease, including meeting basic needs, recognizes the individual as a whole, considers internal and external environments, and seeks full development of potential. I want to mention the Healthy People 2020 initiative here. You may have heard about it, but for those of you who don't know, Healthy People 2020 is the federal program that sets the health goals for our country. These goals are revised every 10 years and change depending on what the biggest healthcare issues are at the time. The main goal of the Healthy People initiatives is to live long, healthy, and productive lives. The initiative is largely focused on the effects of nutrition on our health. We'll discuss the objectives a little later on in this presentation. Another point of confusion that we should clarify right from the beginning are the concepts of appetite and hunger. These are related but different concepts that affect our eating choices and ultimately our health. First, appetite. This is your psychological drive to eat and can be influenced by many factors, particularly the environment and social influences. The environment influences your appetite through your senses, mostly of sight and smell. Doesn't the smell of fresh baked bread or the sight of your favorite meal make your mouth water? Social influences are a little more subtle. Think of your social activities. Do you eat more when you're out with your friends or at a large family function? Are you able to pay attention to how much you're eating in a social setting? It can be challenging. Hunger, on the other hand, is your physical drive to eat. This is regulated by your internal environment and mechanisms that monitor your levels of energy and other nutrients. When these are running low, the feeding center is triggered and you feel hungry. The concept of feeling satiated, or the feeling of satisfaction that makes us stop eating, is mostly a psychological experience. The satiation center and feeding centers in the brain work against each other, which is part of the reason we eat when we aren't even hungry. We don't feel satisfied until we eat the dessert. No one can argue that nutrition and health are linked to one another. Food provides energy and nutrients that the body needs for growth, maintenance, repair, and everything else. There are some nutrients that are considered essential. There are 3 criteria nutrient needs to meet in order to be considered essential. These are: 1, a body function needs to be dependent of the presence of that nutrient. 2, deficiency in the nutrient leads to illness or loss of function. And 3, replacement of that nutrient leads to a return to normal health. Now a word about risk factors. Poor nutrition is a risk factor for many diseases, such as cancer, heart disease, cholesterol elevation, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, osteoporosis, stroke, kidney disease, and many, many others. There are 6 classes of essential nutrients: carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, and water. Yes, water. Water is essential for life, so it most definitely meets the essential nutrient requirements. Let's briefly discuss what these essential nutrients do for us, and we will examine these in more detail in future chapters. Nutrients have 3 main functions. First and most importantly, they provide the energy we need to function. Every activity that occurs both internally and externally requires energy. The body's preferred energy source is glucose. Secondly, nutrients help build tissue, not only for growth and development during childhood, but also for repair and healing throughout our lives. Finally, many nutrients regulate metabolic processes in our bodies. Metabolism is all the chemical reactions that need to occur at the cellular level. Carbohydrates are an important part of our diets. They're the main fuel source for us and help keep us warm and provide energy. They are simple sugars, plain glucose, as well as complex carbohydrates, starches, which are broken down into single glucose molecules for absorption and distribution to the tissues. Carbohydrates are also add another important ingredient, fiber. Fiber helps our digestive tracts to function normally. The next essential nutrient is fats. I know you're thinking, fats are bad. How can this be essential? Well, the truth is, not all fats are bad. We'll discuss good and bad fats in the future, but some fats contain essential fatty acids that we need for function and must come from food. Fats also provide a secondary source of heat and energy. The fat layer under our skin provides insulation, and fat can be broken down to provide energy to the body when needed. What do you think of when you think about protein? Meat, right? Most of the protein in our diet comes from meat, although there are plant sources of protein as well. Protein helps to build tissue for growth and for repair and healing. It also provides amino acids that are used to build the proteins needed by our cells. Protein can also provide energy when there's not enough carbohydrates and fat supplies are depleted. This results in muscle wasting and is the least efficient way to provide energy needed for function. Vitamins and minerals are essential to support and regulate many of our metabolic functions. For example, vitamin C is essential for tissue building. This is why someone who has a wound, they'll often be placed on a vitamin C supplement. Vitamins come in 2 forms: fat-soluble, vitamins A, D, E, and K, and water-soluble, all the rest. The fat-soluble vitamins can become toxic more quickly than the water-soluble vitamins because excess water-soluble vitamins are simply removed by the kidneys. Minerals are inorganic compounds, meaning they do not contain carbon, and are required for balance and function of certain systems and organs. For example, we need adequate amounts of both calcium and phosphorus for healthy bones. Iron for hemoglobin, which carries oxygen and sodium, plays a huge role in fluid balance. These are also broken down into 2 categories: major minerals, which we require a larger supply of, and trace minerals, which we only need in very small amounts. Water is the last of the essential elements. It provides the base for all metabolic processes in our bodies. It's also used as a solvent and is a major component in all of the lubricating fluids found throughout our body. Water transports electrolytes, vitamins, and minerals through the blood to the cells and tissues. One of the most important functions of water is to help maintain our internal temperature regulation. There are other nutrients found in different foods called phytochemicals, found mostly in fruits and vegetables. For example, it has been found that there is a substance in blueberries and strawberries that actually kills certain cancer cells. They're not considered essential nutrients by definition, but are important to our health just the same. These substances provide health benefits beyond what the essential nutrients in them provide. Often these are called superfoods. No discussion about food and nutrition would be complete without talking about calories. Calories are the amount of energy contained in a particular food, and the amount of calories we need is determined by our involuntary and voluntary activities. Involuntary activities are those things happening inside our bodies that are out of our control, often referred to as basal metabolic rate, or BMR. Voluntary activities are those activities that we choose to participate in, for example, movement of skeletal muscle. A calorie is defined as the amount of heat needed to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree centigrade. However, what most of us think of a calorie is actually a kilocalorie or 1,000 calories, for example. What you read on a nutritional label is the measure of kilocalories. Different nutrients have different amount of calories. Carbs and proteins have 4 calories per gram, fats have 9, and alcohol has 7. I include alcohol because most of us don't think about the number of calories in alcohol and just how quickly those calories can add up. Nutrient values are frequently described as percentages, seen on nutrition labels. Measurements use the metric system: 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds. So how do we come to know so much about nutrition? Believe me when I tell you that we are only scratching the surface. Study of nutrition didn't really begin until the 1800s when sailors were developing scurvy from a lack of vitamin C. Nutrition is studied using the scientific method. This is a method commonly used for scientific discovery. First, one observes a phenomenon and develops a hypothesis as to what is causing it. In the scurvy example, someone observed that these sailors who had citrus available were not getting sick, and the hypothesis was that citrus prevented scurvy. Next, we need to test our hypothesis and collect data. Today, this is usually done using a double-blind method, utilizing 2 groups of participants, 1 experimental group and 1 control group. We can also use a Finally, we analyze the data collected and develop a theory regarding the initial phenomenon. In the scurvy case, epidemiological data supported the hypothesis leading to the theory that citrus fruits prevent scurvy in sailors. Now that we have some info about food and nutrition, how are we doing as a nation? There's good news and bad news. First, the bad news. Obesity is a growing problem in this country, and as many as 2/3 of adults and 1/3 of children are considered obese, and it is adversely affecting the health of the nation. Why do we have this problem with obesity? There are many reasons. Our daily calorie intake has increased while our average physical activity has decreased. Although we're staying within the daily recommended percentages for essential nutrients, what form these nutrients are in has changed drastically. There are more prepackaged and processed foods and drinks than ever before, and companies are adding more sweeteners to these foods. Our salt intake is much higher, leading to fluid weight gain, and our diets are no longer well balanced. Compared to other nations, our diets have changed to more of a meat and potato base than fruit and vegetable base.